Hey, what's up guys? That's right, I'm back, and get this, we're doing Super Mario Bros. 2 for the NES. Now this is gonna be a pretty good one, with a bit of...
Play lost levels first.
We're doing USA!
You gotta play the lost levels first.
But I don't want to do the lost levels first, it's too hard!
You do wanna play Mario the Lost Levels.
I don't wanna.
You do wanna.
I don't wanna.
You do wanna.
I don't wanna.
You do wanna.
I don't wanna.
You don't wanna.
I do wanna.
You don't wanna.
I do wanna.
You don't wanna.
I do wanna, and you're not gonna stop me. Alright, we're gonna begin with Super Mario Bros. 2, The Lost Levels. Wait. After the overwhelming success of Super Mario Bros., there were many different versions of the game, like the Game & Watch game, the board game, Super Mario Bros. Special, the awful PC port, and an arcade equivalent, versus Super Mario Bros. Basically, it's a harder version of Super Mario Bros. That you play on an arcade machine. During the development of this arcade machine, Miyamoto had some fun modifying the levels. He thought of a version of Super Mario Bros., but for the people that mastered the original for the Famicom. Not a port of versus Super Mario Bros., but like a sequel to it for the hardcore Mario players, or super players. This idea became a full-fledged game and started development on their new system add-on, the Famicom Disk System. It was released in Japan as Super Mario Bros. 2, and was planned to be localized internationally. When Nintendo of America got it, though, they thought Mario 2 was way too hard for a sequel to the best-selling game of all time. Well, it was then the best-selling game of all time. Plus, they had to convert it from a disc to a cartridge. So they sent it back from Nintendo of Japan and said, "Hey, this game is too hard. Please make another one, please." And the search for an American Mario sequel was on. Now the game. First off, the story for Super Mario Bros. 2 The Lost Levels is literally the same. This is also said for a lot of things in this game. The controls, the music, the graphics, they're all either very similar to the first game or exactly the same. One new feature is that on the title screen, there is no two-player mode, only a Mario mode and a Luigi mode. This was the first game to implement Luigi controlling differently from Mario. He could jump higher than Mario, but has worse traction, giving him constant ice physics. But there's one single thing from this game that sticks out like a sore thumb: the difficulty. If Satan made a game, it would be this one, but it was too hard for him, so he gave it to us mortals so we can suffer. It's mainly the level design that's 99.9% hard of the time, but the enemies are just as bad. They're all back from Mario 1, and sometimes they're scattered in the most random of places. Not only that, but we got something new with red piranha plants. Basically, they're much more aggressive and faster than in Mario 1. Speaking of new enemies, we also have the poison mushroom, which is technically a power-up, but it hurts you, so... yeah. Remember how frustrating Hammer Brothers were? Well, now if you wait too long for them, they start walking towards you! My anger accentuates even more because I used an emulator for this video, which is kind of obvious. But the thing is, I had to use a keyboard with weird button inputs like, why is Control A and Shift B? That makes no sense. The first time Super Mario Bros. 2 The Lost Levels was ever released internationally was in the Super Mario Bros. All-Stars collection for the Super Nintendo, when it was called Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels. The All-Stars version added a save feature, and you can access the bonus worlds the first time you beat the game, making it the definitive version of Mario 2 The Lost Levels. That's also right. There are some bonus worlds A through D, which you have to beat the game 8 whole times to actually access. in a row, by the way. I mean, this game just throws too much bullcrap at you. I got barely, any enjoyment out of what I played. I did have some fun, but barely any. I will beat this game someday, but that's just for another time. I know this game is loved by many, and I can see why. It's just not for me. With that being said, I'll give this game a 5 out of 10. The game's okay, but it's just way too hard for some good. It's okay. Of course, it's not bad because you can get a bit of fun out of it. It's not good because it's painfully hard. And it's very similar to Mario 1, which isn't a bad thing, it's just too similar to Mario 1. Like the graphics look very similar, minus a few sprite changes. Enemies all return from Mario 1, that's the thing. I mean, with the exception of, 1. The music is the exact same, which isn't a bad thing because the Super Mario Bros. 1 soundtrack is pretty good. The problem is this game needed to be a little more original. And the reason why, oh yeah, by the way, it became the best-selling game on the Famicom Disk System, the only reason why it became that is because it's called Super Mario Bros. 2. Well, that's my theory anyway. I think it should have been called something like Mario and Luigi, kind of like Sonic and Knuckles or Mega Man and Bass. Well, no, it's Mega Man and Bass. Nobody talks about that game.
Stay away.
But, I think it should have been called something else, or, a Porter versus Super Mario Brothers like that. It could have been like Shadow Dancer, where, yes, that game was originally an arcade game, but it's completely different from the arcade game, but it's still a solid game. It could have been like that. It could have been like Mario Luigi versus Super Mario Brothers, like the arcade game, but it has much more different level design. It could have been that. Well, also, I need to say I only got to World 2. Yeah. So, some of the footage that you saw, I used it from other YouTubers. I put credit that I used them as a source. So, it's not that bad. And also, you might be thinking to yourself, Colin, you said Ghosts and Goblins is a bad game, but you're saying this one's good even though it's harder? What? Well, let's just compare the two for a bit. Mario 2 The Lost Levels, Ghosts and Goblins. Alright, let's go. First off, Ghosts and Goblins, you have to beat it 2 times to actually beat it. I know that doesn't make sense, but once you get to the final boss, it says this room is an illusion, you have to restart all over again, you have to restart it all over again, and then when you beat the final boss for the second time, you actually beat the game. Meanwhile, we got Mario 2 The Lost Levels over here, sitting pretty. You see, it has bonus worlds A through D, that you need to unlock it by playing the game 8 times in a row. Yeah, that's horrifying. But, that is optional for completionists to do. Unlike Ghosts and Goblins, where it's mandatory for you to actually beat the game. So yeah. What I'm trying to say is, Super Mario Bros. 2 Lost Levels, it's more fun, even though it's harder than Ghosts and Goblins.